All right, so you're thinking about replacing the convertible top in your first gen F body car. Before you do that, make sure your frame is in good working order and the right frame. Let me show you what you need to look at. Now, our sample car is a 1969 Firebird convertible. Now, there's two things right off the bat: power top frames and manual top frames. This here has the hydraulic lines and all set up, so this is a power top frame. There is a difference between the two of them. They're not really interchangeable. Yes, they all bolt in, they fold the same, uses the same top. The cylinders here, the hydraulic cylinders, will bolt into a manual top frame, but the problem becomes is they don't have quite the same hinges. They do not operate very well. If you put the cylinders on a manual top frame, sometimes the frame just doesn't move right. You kind of got to help move it along up and down. So if you got a really slow responding top, you may have a manual top frame. So that's step number one. Number two, the power top obviously uses two cylinders to work this thing up and down. All the mechanism works together to fold this thing up to all reside back here in this cavity here. So to make all that work, you got several moving points and friction points. The ones that like to snap off and break are right here. This car has already been repaired, but these are actually completely ripped out and broken. They do not make a repair kit for this, so either you got to get creative or buy one of the repop tops. I don't know the condition of those. I've never messed with one, but I was able to salvage this one to make it work. But if you look carefully at all the junctions, I took everything apart and put a little bit of grease on every single junction. Now, I don't know if that's how it was from the factory, but I can do this now, and this top works really nice. It'll fold up. It folds up and actually hits the seal up here. I can flip the handles, and that's all I got to do when it actually comes up, and it actually latches just like that. So that's what I do. So you take the whole, maybe you take the frame apart, or maybe you don't, but you can take out some of the bolts at least, and then grease all the points. It's going to help make this thing move nice and smooth. Now, with that being said, this bow back here, this is one of the ones you have to actually do an adjustment on. There's extra things in some books and some suggestions, but that's going to be probably our next video, where to position this bar, because it actually makes a huge difference. And this is where your staple, your tack strip, or you want to call it, make sure those are in good working condition, not chunked out and bad. This is an original one, still in pretty good shape, so I'm going to run it again. The ones then screw on and here to this section, your padding underneath. And this here, same thing. That's an original tack strip. Now the front bow here, I took this part completely and sandblasted. These were in bad shape, so I put some new ones in. Now you see I have some screws holding it in. I've glued it underneath and screwed it into place. These are kind of a recessed head. I drilled some holes through the rubber. These are actually replacements rubber instead of that, I don't know what this stuff is, almost like a cardboard material, but the replacements are rubber. So I glued it down and screwed it and snapped it into place. There's also one underneath here, same thing, side to side, replaced the whole thing. So this front bow likes to rust out. That's probably one of the biggest problems, especially the inside here where the weather stripping rides at. So check this out, and check this really good before installing your top. And the good news is they sell this piece repop. Again, I can't tell you the quality or how good it is, but at least you have an option in case your top is all good minus this part here. So now you've looked at that. Now your linkages are all good. Now technically I can actually release those latches right now and run this top frame up and down. I would suggest doing that many times to check for smooth and good operation without any binding. So once that's all squared away and done, so fine. Now what you want to do next though is this top has to fold up, of course, obviously, reaches the windshield. Now there's a little latch inside here that actually flips down and hooks in to right here. Now that's completely adjustable. There's two bolts here. One's a nut and there's a bolt. This moves forward and aft, so you can adjust your length of your top. You can also pitch it side to side some too to make sure this lines up nice in the middle of your pocket when you fold the top up. So that's one of your adjustments right here. Now another adjustment, everything else is going to be adjusted back here where it mounts to the inside of the quarter panel. You have this, there's a nut on the back side here. It's a stud, so it's got serrated lines that locks it into place. And you have three big fasteners here. Now this bar here, let's talk about this one first. This bar here is going to affect this junction here, or the whole height of the front of the top. If you want to bring the top down lower, then you actually, I think you lift this up and this channel here. Bring it up, take a few notches or so, and that'll actually, when the top comes up, power top, it'll bring it down here height-wise. That's how to adjust the height. So basically what I'm saying, if you fold the top up, bring it back up, and it kind of stops about 2 or 3 inches away from the glass, bring this link up just a little bit. Sorry, this link here. Bring it up a little bit, and that'll bring the top down. Or also vice versa. If it's slamming down on the glass, well, bring it the other way. You want to pull it back up. So you want to pull that thing, pull that down, so it actually pull the top up a little bit. So that's one of the adjustments there. And the other thing is right here, there's 3 big bolts. Now these ones, They're slotted. This thing will move all kinds of crazy which ways. That'll affect the pitch of this piece here, forward and back, and you can even move it forward and backwards this way. So it gets into a whole thing of you got to get it lined up with the roof, you got to get it lined up with the side glass and the quarter glass. And I would suggest getting the top working really good and looking decent, and then try to adjust the glass to match the top, not try to match the top to the glass. So really, unless the car was in really great shape, plan to pull your door panels off of this and your quarter panels off so you can adjust the glass, get it really dialed in, because the goal is to get the glass lined up here with the window post, then come up here through here, then line up here with your quarter glass, and you should be able to run the windows down independently of each other. So I have some videos, check out here. You'll see up here in the very top there's a link. It'll take you to the video of how to adjust glass. Coupe and convertible are very similar, so I've done some videos on those in the past. So something like that to keep in mind. Now let's talk about this top. If you wanted to remove this as an assembly, there is actually a procedure in the service manual how to do that. Now I don't have it memorized, but at least it gets you an idea. If you do a reversal of that, you could install it. Now, what I like to do though, let's say we had this all in pieces. I like to install the cylinder mount here in the body first. Then I install this rear section next. And then I install the middle section. Then I install the front section, leaving all the hardware relatively loose. Do the same there to the driver's side. And then I put the crossbows in, starting with, I always do the front one first, work my way to here, then back. This one can go in last. This just held in by bolts through the actual brackets here. So that's how I assemble the top. And that's just loosely put it into place. Now, if you wanted to remove this as an assembly, I believe it has something to do with removing basically the bolt down here. There's three of them. One, two, and the third one's down there in that pocket. You can't see it because it's behind this plate right here. You take that bolt out there, take the one out of the cylinder here, and you have something to do with tying this up here and then taking all the well bolts out there, and you can remove the top as an assembly for service and repair to the rest of the body of the car if you needed to. Just a little FYI for you. But anyway, when you're putting it back together, when it comes to adjustments, these three bolts here, 1, 2, and 3, have all kinds of adjustments. It'll move this rear mount all around. Now, I normally just kind of eyeball and guess it and throw it in here, and then kind of get it into place, and then move it from there. Now, this bar here, this one here has this serrated or, it's kind of a rough texture, so it got lines cut into it, and this is machined so it locks into place. You can adjust this up and down. What this adjustment here does affects right here. If you ever see a convertible where this is actually kind of like dumped down like this, where it's kind of, when this piece comes up, it kind of goes down, and this piece goes back up, you need to adjust this down, which then lifts this up. It kind of does this with this whole mechanism. It pulls it up. So if you see one doing kind of funny things right there, adjust this bar towards the ground. Now, what I do, though, step one is put the top on. Get it looking pretty good, get everything tightened up, get it snugged up, operating nice and smooth. And then what I've done is I take a tape measure from here to the door jamb, from here to the floor pan, and then from like here where the cable mounts up to the floor. I take my measurements side to side. And this one's going to be a little sloppy. I try to get within a 1/4 inch side to side. There's so many variances there, but I want them to be about the same side to side. But let's just say, I think this one was 36.5 inches, right? This one's like 36 1/8, and this is 35. Now, there's obviously about a, 3/8 of an inch difference from here to here. So I want to see 3/8 of an inch from there to there. So they're still kind of going down at the same rate, but not necessarily the same number side to side, but the rate is just kind of sloping towards the rear needs to be the same. So just basically kind of counting it down as you're working your way back. And once you've got that adjusted out pretty good, like I said, mine was, I'll tell you my number here. So basically it was from this edge here, kind of pick the highest peak of that point and shoot it straight down the floor. It's 36.5, 36 1/8, and 35. Now, the reason that matters is this glass, it's a fixed shape. It's glass. You can't bend it, you can't move it, you can't sculpt it. So the top has to match the contour of the glass. So you can't have a V groove here in the middle. So that's why I say step one is getting the top installed on the car. And what I also do, if I can show it or not, I have to hold the top up, but the seal, if you look up inside there, I put the front weather stripping in. That way I know where it's going to be when I'm all said and done. That way I got my height adjusted. So once I get my top dialed in and working, filled full of fluid, running it up and down, Then I come back and adjust the glass to match the top. And then a little FYI for you, I like to take the pump off and tie it up this way and fill it full of fluid. Once it's done and stationary, you check it with the cylinders with the top retracted or down, however the world you live in, and then it should be filled to the bottom of this hole. Well, working inside that little cavity is a pain in the butt. So at this point, I'm just working on getting all the air worked out of the system. And then I run the top down, hold the pump out here, and then get the fluid level really close, and then I'll tuck it back inside. And the last little FYI for you, hook the ground up here to the body. As you can tell, I don't have no dash or no clutch in there yet. All you have to do, as long as you have this ground wire hooked up, you add power to the red one, it goes one way. You add power to the green one, it goes the other way. It's only a one-wire system there. So up here at the front, where the wires come back through, they're actually purple and gray. I can touch it to voltage, the top goes one way, and touch the voltage on the other side, top goes the other way. And that's how I've been testing and operating top. So evidently that motor must have a dual winding setup, one for up and one for down. So they're not actually using the same windings, is my guess. But that's beyond my pay grade or my concern. I'm just telling you how you can make it work. If you get anything out of this video, if you have brand new cylinders like we did here, I got new cylinder. These are new lines. That's reused, repurposed motor. It was empty though. The entire system takes just about a quart. So to get you an idea how much fluid you're gonna need, that's about where it's at. And then the little drain plug, once you get it filled up, I'm gonna give you one little pro tip. You ever try to get that to go in there, lost cause. You may not notice, but it's hollow for a reason. You can use something like a screwdriver here. Whoops, I'll get you on camera. And just keep wiggling. You don't want to stab a hole through the bushing, but just keep working it. And eventually, you'll get that thing seated in place. And there you go. And you'll get your screwdriver out. And your plug is in. So if you learn anything from this video, hopefully that tip is helpful. Now, so at that point, your top is good. Now, adjusting the glass, I've got separate videos on that here. It's all the same between F-body, between convertible or coupe, how they all adjust. But I like to start with the front door glass and then roughly with the quarter glass, and I start working it. But the goal is to get that glass where it lines up nice and even with the windshield and pulls up tight here to the top and all the way in here to the quarter. And you should have a relatively even gap between your quarter glass and your door glass. And then also when you're all said and done, you should be able to roll down the driver's window up and down, and then the quarter glass up and down independently of each other and still line up fine. Again, some of that stuff's in that video there on how to adjust glass. So that kind of gets you kind of a rough basis on the convertible tops. Now, the other thing is we've adjusted the back, we had the top, and almost forgot about this. There's two bits of hardware. There's this really large bolt head with the Phillips in the center and a small nut here. That'll move this whole front bow forward or backwards. And then even the latch, you can actually twist that latch side to side. So if your latch isn't lining up in its pockets up here, you can actually adjust that. Let's see if I can get in here. So this latch that's nice and relatively centered in our pocket. Let's say if it was way off to one of the sides or the other, you can take that loose and you can adjust this latch side to side. And my goal is by the time I'm all said and done, when I get the top and it shuts, I like to reach here and just kind of do that to latch it. I don't like to monkey with it, pulling it into place. Now, it doesn't always work out that way, especially with an annihilated twisted frame like I got here, but was able to get it pretty close. If I lift it up and bring it down, I have to bump it to the left just a little bit. I'm going to call that good considering how bad this frame was. Now, come over here to the driver's side, showing the same thing. Got a good even gap here between the quarter glass and the main door glass. Nice and tight up in here in the glass. And you should be able to open and shut the door. And, of course, new weather strippers, you have to bump it a little bit, but we get something like this here. Shuts nice. Like I said, you can roll the window down independently of each other and back up. You should be able to keep monkeying with the glass until you get it that way. It does take a little bit of finesse. Now, here's what I was talking about, the wires, the gray and the purple. So if I were to unlatch my tops, I got that side already unlatched. And then what I was doing was using this wire here, turn my key on, and then if I actually touch it to one side, you hear the pump running. That's the up direction. And then purple is down. Oops. And then so you can run the top without the vinyl on it and it won't hurt a thing. You can verify operation. So that's down. We're gonna bring it back up and I'll show you kind of where we're at with the top here. Okay, now you can see here, I just need to bump it to the left. That's it. That's all she needs. So that's the best that I can get this one. Again, I'm going to call that acceptable. I hope that sheds some light on convertible top frames there for you. Like I said, want to review. The reason for this video really is basically, hey, get your top frame put back on the car. Maybe you never took it off. At least get everything lubricated. Step one is to get the frame adjusted where it touches the glass, it opens smooth, doesn't slam into it or come up short. You want it to come down and just kind of rest right there on the top of the windshield header up there. And once you're happy with that, bring the glass to match the top. Get it up where it needs to be. And if you need to make any adjustments to like that piece here, you need to move it forward or backwards, take the 3 bolts loose and manipulate it. But understand, as soon as you move one thing, it messes with everything. So I suggest small, methodical motions or a little bit of adjustments and see how it responds. Kind of like doing the hood hinges, you know. Yes, it makes sense. You should move it this way and this way. It's how it's supposed to work. It's not always black and white. Sometimes you move it here, it totally screws everything up over here. Again, just watch everything, operate the glass. I have probably about 8 hours and mess around with this top and trying to make it work. Because here's the unfortunate thing. Some of you know from the word go, this top was in horrible shape. I suspect that someone unlatched it or didn't latch it, got driving, and got folded backwards. I have burned up way too much time in repairing this top and getting it adjusted. It needed a lot more than normal. Let's just say a porta power came out at one point and had to do some bending. So that is not the norm. So what I'm going to say is I did do a whole lot of video on that. But if you're going to replace the top of the reproduction one, or you have, and you actually bought one, let me know how good or bad or different those are. I just wasn't brave enough to buy one for this car. But now knowing the amount of time I have invested into it, I wish I would have to try one out. I'm happy with the frame now, but the time though, that's the thing, time is money or time. You got to manage time when it comes to this stuff. And I burned up way too much on getting this thing all adjusted and operational. I mean, happy with the results, but was there a better way I could have done this? So anyway, if you have done a reproduction top frame, let me know the good, the bad, and the ugly, and maybe where you got it from. I'd really appreciate the feedback on that just the same. So next go around, or here really soon, work on putting the convertible top on this car. And as you can tell, she's getting real close to the finish line. I got the back bumper brackets are on back order. So surprise, surprise. Finally had something kind of a bit of a snag on this car. But anyway, we'll make it through it. We'll make it happen. We'll get this thing done. Keep bringing some videos to you, and I hope to catch you guys and gals next time.